Welcome back to Long Delays Hobbies. If you follow miniature wargaming, then you were probably already aware that last night was the first night of Adepticon, and for those of us in the Games Workshop world, it means the Adepticon preview show. We got a ton of new information about new miniatures being released, new rules, new editions being released, but I'm really only interested in Middle Earth and Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy releases I didn't really find too interesting. So in this video, I'm really only going to be talking about the new stuff we got for Middle Earth. Those of us who follow Middle Earth closely, kind of were only expecting to get maybe one or two miniatures and a supplement. That's kind of like on the high end of what we were expecting. I think most people really only expecting to get like a hero, especially after Middle Earth was kind of a throw-in, like a last-minute throw-in. The initial promotional pictures didn't have any Middle Earth on them. They were kind of thrown in later. But that's not what happened. It turns out we actually got a lot of new stuff for Middle Earth, and it's very, very exciting. I was jumping out of my chair last night seeing all the new stuff we got. So most importantly, and something people have asked for ever since the Battle of Edoras box came out in late, I don't know, it's been, I guess 2024 now is when it came out, after the War of the Rohirrim movie. We finally got the Riders of Rohan that we've been asking for. They've been sitting on this now for like a year and a half, and then we finally got them, and they just look absolutely gorgeous. I like how the shields are actually mostly designed the same. They've designed them in such a way that like you can actually slot them right in if you have an existing Rohan army. They don't look like super dissimilar, but at the same time, they're clearly just better. They're just better. The horses look better. The horse poses are like dynamic. The armor on the horses is just a lot more detailed. There's the actual like differentiation between like the cloaks and the armor, whereas the current ones are they're kind of single pose models, just kind of two-piece miniatures. The current plastic ones, because they're from I think like 2004, they're definitely over 20 years old. There's also, if you read the article, there's going to be like you can actually kit them out, which you can't do with the current ones. The current miniatures, the bows are like baked into the sculpt, so every single model has bows. They're going to have weapon options, which is fantastic. Something that we don't really have in this game too much of, honestly. Like, which is has always been something that people have asked for. Like, profiles have always given you like weapon options, but the kits have never really given us that. So now the kits will actually give us weapon options. You can actually buy a box of miniatures, and in that box will come with options to make hand weapons or throwing spears, and you can also have bows. You can or if you don't want to have them have bows, you don't have to have them have bows. It's optional now. Like if you don't want to have your Riders of Rohan have bows, you no longer are required to do so. And if you want to have them all have throwing spears, or if you want to have them all have axes, you can do that with what's in the box. Just a nice quality of life improvement. And another thing is that you can swap their horses out too. So you can, like, each of these dudes can go on any horse. So they're just light years better than the current ones. I have 12 of the current horses, and I now am like comparing the current horses to the current riders to these guys, and it's like it's not even close. Like, I want to just get rid of the current ones and just only use these, because these are just so much better. But if we only had these, like, this would be just exciting. I think a lot of people would just be thrilled if this was the only thing we got. But that's not all we got. We got some other stuff too. We got a new plastic command set for Rohan. Now, this is like the first time we've ever gotten a command set, as far as I can remember, that was in plastic. And it kind of bodes really, really well for the support of this game going forward, because most factions have this kind of set. Like, you know, all the main factions have like an existing command set. And if they're going to go through and remake all these command sets in plastic, you know, that's a lot of stuff there that they're going to have to remake. You know, the current rumor mill is that they want to stop making, not only stop making new resin, but also go back and get rid of all the resin and metal, um, which makes sense for them as a company. Now, all of the current command sets, except for this one, um, are in metal. So, except for some of the Hobbit ones, which I think those are in resin. So they would have to go back and make like the Mordor command set, Isengard command set, um, Gondor command set. They would have to remake all of those in plastic, and I think honestly they would probably sell pretty well, because what's the first thing people say whenever you start an army in Middle Earth? The first thing people say is like after you get your troops, you have to have captains to lead your army. Um, so this is like the first purchase. The command set is the very first purchase that people go to, because you have to have banners for your army. War horns are kind of hit or miss, but it's good to have a war horn. A lot of times, just kind of like in case you need one, or they don't never hurts. They're kind of usually expensive for what they do. But captains are also really good. They're not so good in Rohan, but because you have so many named heroes. But in a lot of factions like Gondor, like captains are nice because you just have a few extra points in your army. You just want to have one extra war band. You just throw a captain out there. I think this is really nice. Like I said, it bodes really well for what they're planning on doing with the game. I think the fact that we've now got plastic riders and we've now got a plastic command set, the only thing really from a troop perspective that's left for Rohan is the Rohan Royal Guard, which I now think we are 100% going to get plastic Rohan Royal Guard. It's definitely coming. So I don't know when, probably in the next year, I'd say we're gonna get Royal Guard, or maybe like an upgrade set, or something like that. The other thing I think they could do that they're probably going to do is upgrade Gambling and Hama. That's a super old metal kit. So, and also like this is a very popular choice because Gambling is so good. Gambling's rules are like broken, and Hama's not bad either. I think it would make sense for them to redo this in plastic. So I think we'll be seeing one or both, either like Gambling and Hama together, that kind of makes sense as the plastic kit, and then also Rohan Royal Guard. And Hama's also like the head of the Royal Guard, if I remember correctly. So they could even make like a box with that, just like Hama and some Royal Guard, and then maybe separately like Gambling. But wait, there's more. We also got the Hill Tribes command set. People have kind of been wondering, like in the Lord of the Rings army book, there was an option for a Hill Tribes chieftain, and there was no Hill Tribes chieftain model. So for like well over like a year over a year, almost a year and a half now. So people kind of like speculated like what that meant. Well, we now finally have our Hill Tribes chieftain model, but now we also have the Hill Tribes chieftain with banner and warhorn. Which is not currently, you can't take a Hill Tribesman with banner or warhorn. I'm sure when these come out, they'll just FAQ the rule book, the army book, and say that yes, Hill Tribesmen can come with banner and warhorn. It's not an issue. But these models are fantastic. They have the little skulls like that are in the War of the Rohirrim movie that I personally have been waiting a long time for them to do. That was one of my favorite aesthetics of the film, was the Hill Tribesmen with the skulls. I thought that was just awesome. Instead of the Hill Tribes chieftain, you can also build him as an Oathmaker. So we also got like a plastic Oathmaker out of this. So I kind of feel bad for the people who just bought the re-released Forge World Oathmaker, but that's Games Workshop for you. And he looks actually almost totally different. So it's a different head, different arms, it looks like. Or maybe, no, it's the same arm, I can see. It's just that you don't glue the shield on. And then he's got like a little skull around his waist, whereas the chieftain does not. Or maybe it looks like actually a totally different torso now that I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it a little closer. They probably did that thing where they split it horizontally rather than vertically. So I bet the front is different and the back is the same across the two miniatures. That way you can't reuse the different parts to build a new miniature. But the chieftain looks good. The Oathmaker looks closer to what he does in the films. This was not on the preview show last night, but we're also getting a Burning of the Westfold journal. So they don't really tell us too much about it, except that it's going to have some scenarios. The name Burning of the Westfold kind of implies that it's going to have a lot of Dunland in it, as well as some ways to turn Rohan houses into burned out wreckage. So, which is kind of cool. Again, I think this stuff is all really, really good for the future of the game. I think it means that, assuming this stuff sells really well, which I think it's going to, the riders are going to sell really well. I think the Rohan command is going to sell really well. I think we're going to see this treatment for other factions, especially I think the next faction they would probably do is Isengard, because Isengard is probably Games Workshop's second favorite Middle-earth faction. As we all know, if you follow this game, Rohan is their favorite faction. Isengard is their favorite evil faction, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get maybe in the next year or so for plastic berserkers, or plastic scouts, plastic lurts, things like that. So and Lurtz actually really needs a plastic model. I don't really know why he still doesn't have one. It's kind of wild to me that we still, Lurtz is still not available in plastic. Plastic Isengard, command set is also something we could see. And after that, I do think we could see stuff like plastic Minas Tirith warriors, plastic Minas Tirith command set. We no longer have to really worry about, I think if we do see another faction, because I think another big reason why they did these two factions was it's not just because Rohan is their their Space Marine equivalent, but also because these factions came out after the War of the Rohirrim. If we do see Isengard done, then I think that truly opens the door for the factions that are in the old Peter Jackson films, like Isengard, like Minas Tirith. But we'll see. We'll see if they want to go that route, or if they want to just refresh models that are based off of the new movies that are coming out. For example, we don't really know too much about the Hunt for Gollum movies, but I don't think there's going to be too many troops they could refresh based off of that. I don't know if there's some point where they go down to Osgiliath or Minas Tirith, and maybe they run into some troops down there, and then so they could do a refresh of the troops based off of that. But they also could refresh orcs based off of that. At some point, Aragorn runs into some Mordor orcs, so okay, here's some new refresh Mordor orcs based off of that. I'm honestly not too bothered by what they choose to refresh next. I personally don't care, as long as they just keep going. Just don't lose this momentum. Just refresh something, so we don't continue to play with models that are over 25 years old. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Go ahead and put them down into the comment section below. As always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to have a great day. Take care.